Welcome to Beyond Safari, a think tank media podcast. Hosted by Fadhila Saad, this show explores Uganda and East Africa through tourism, culture, and hospitality, beyond wildlife, beyond familiar narratives, and into the stories that bring the region to life. Through warm conversations and authentic storytelling, it offers fresh perspectives, practical insight, and a deeper understanding of the people and places shaping hospitality today. We invite you to see what others miss.
Hello, everyone. Murimutier yo. Welcome to the second episode of Beyond Safari. I am your host, Fadhila Saad, and I'm so excited that today we start our second episode. Yay! Now, in our very first episode of Beyond Safari, we talked about Uganda's incredible opportunity as one of the youngest countries in the world, a nation full of energy, innovation, and possibility. And today we are going to build on that conversation by exploring how that youthful creativity is shaping culture, hospitality, and tourism in exciting new ways. So joining me today is someone who has spent years working alongside Uganda's creative community while bringing an international perspective to the conversation. I am delighted to welcome Sina. Sina, welcome. Can you just say hello to our audience? Tell them about yourself.
Sure. Hello, and thank you so much for inviting me, Fadhila. It's very lovely because I just got back to Germany after 7 years spending in Uganda, mostly Kampala. So it's also a nice way for me to reconnect and to share a bit about my experiences. My name is Sina. I'm a creative practitioner. Currently, I'm working in Germany as a communications lead at a performing arts center that's based in the west of Germany and actually part of a UNESCO heritage site where we host different productions in the performing arts locally and internationally. And I have been working in the creative sector for the last 7, almost 8 years. And I've been traveling quite a lot. And I'd say that has become a bit like my second home. So I'm looking forward to the conversations here.
Okay. So thank you, Sina, for that. Now, want to talk about how you found Uganda through creativity. You've described yourself as an art enthusiast since childhood. And I want us to start at the very beginning. What first sparked your love for art, and how did that journey eventually bring you to Uganda?
Okay. Okay, I'm trying to keep it short. Let's see. I think, it really started during my childhood. My dad was a big music lover and he made me and my sister listen to psychedelic rock, music, blues. And then I also started to play the piano. I started dancing when I was a little child. And I think I eventually realized very fast how art can make you feel, like performing arts, how it also connects people. And I really enjoyed it. And it became like a crucial part in my life. Then later on, I studied cultural studies in my bachelor and master's. And during that time, you not only theoretically engage with culture and like forms of how societies live together, what's the role of art in societies in terms of communication, in terms of like growing as a society and understanding, but also doing different projects. And at some point, I found myself in Western Kenya. In 2017, I joined a community program. And then later on, actually, that was my first step onto the continent. And I really, really liked it. And I wanted to go back and explore more and connect more with the people around. So then I got an internship in 2019 at the Goethe Centrum. That was just right after my studies. Exactly. So 2019, that's how the whole chapter in Kampala started, actually, at the Goethe Centrum.
Okay, so from Kenya to right into the capital city, Kampala, What surprised you most about our creative scene when you first experienced it?
Mm-hmm. So I think I have to look back to the first project I was part of at the Goethe Centrum. So generally, I was really amazed by the, I mean, diversity and richness of art that you find on ground. There was a moving exhibition called Future Africa Visions in Time. So it was an Afrofuturistic exhibition, a moving exhibition that was in different parts of the world, and then eventually came to Kampala. And we invited different
Oh,
art, mostly visual artists, to join the program. And I met people like Pamela Nyonu and Derek Komakic, and they showcased art like which really made you understand daily practices of people in Uganda. There was a program called Everyday Queens. So Everyday Queens was highlighting labor of women on the streets, right? Which is not really seen as labor, it's seen as like something that's just there. So that was really, really interesting. And within that Future Africa Visions in Time program, there was also a workshop for fashion designers. And I think we had 30 to 40 applications. So people were super committed to join. They were eager to learn and to exchange with other peers. And there was something that whenever you work with people who are really into their subject and who are hungry for knowledge and for experiences and for exchange, it's really fun, and you really dive deep into the material, I would say. So yeah, I really love the commitment of the artists I got to know, of like the diversity and the richness and depth of the art practices.
so you were mainly working with young people. It seemed like all the projects you were involved in, community, art-wise, everything was, you were dealing with young people.
I mean, not only, but mostly, because Uganda has a very young population. And there were also some programs later on when I worked with Afri Art Gallery, where we had community workshops that connected the elders and which was also beautiful to see, because even in my culture, like where I come from, sometimes we forget about the older people, right? Or we're like, actually, we learned so much from them.
Yeah.
But coming back to your point, yeah, I think most of the workshops organized or the people I engaged with were definitely the younger generation.
So from your perspective, with lots of young people engaged in the creative, in the arts, especially the music, the dance, the drama, different ways of creative expression, what do you think this means for Uganda in terms of tourism? What's our future? How do we leverage this to get more tourism, more exposure, more collaboration, more partnership? Yeah. What do you see there?
Yeah, I, I see a lot of potential, I'd say. I mean, like for me personally, like working with all these artists and working in the creative sector, like makes you understand or makes you learn so much about the culture, right? In a way, through, let's say, poetry. Yeah, you go to poetry events, or you visit like fashion stores where they work with backcloth and denim, right? And then you learn about backcloth and where it's coming from and what's the importance of it. So generally, like the growing creative sector, what I experienced in Uganda and also bit of East Africa, is a big potential for young people. And I think the problem is more that young people are actually doing a lot. They're really trying, but it's more like the markets who needs to acknowledge them as producers, right? Or like part of the ecosystem. Because I don't know, like
Yeah.
when you sell, you can work with art to design your hotel rooms, or like to create like travel packages, right? Where you do different poetry events, or you do studio visits, like studio of like a visual artist, for example. You go there with a group of people and you learn about what they're doing, and you get another type of exposure. But also on the commercial side, like when you look at music and fashion, I mean, it's quite, I don't know if I can say booming, but there's a lot going on, right? There are so many platforms and there's so many good people who do good music, like what I realized. So it's more about like creating visibility and having like
Yeah.
the right management. And also from the other side, from the hospitality sector, to also like be willing to listen and to be open to new formats. I think that's a very important factor.
So when you're in Kampala or when you're still in Uganda, did you ever go for the Nyege Nyege Festival? What did you think of that idea? And how much do you think it's doing for us as tourism?
Yeah.
I mean, for
Yeah.
doing our part,
Right.
yeah, for telling Uganda's creative art, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been to Nyege Nyege 3 times. I think to me, it's the perfect example how a festival like Nyege Nyege, or also the label, because there's also Nyege Nyege Tapes, which is the music label, how they manage to showcase and export creativity from Uganda, right? And beyond. So also Nyege Festival is like a quite outstanding platform for contemporary artists from the continent to come together and to do electronic music. And for me, I'm now in Germany, and I went to a little, call it like salon, like a concert 2 weeks ago, and I met someone who was doing a residence with Nyege artists in Berlin, right? So like I think the visibility of artists from Uganda has reached another level because of Nyege Nyege, which I find very cool. And I think there should be more such formats to embrace this visibility to make it possible, I guess.
Okay. I like that you said you're in Germany and you met someone who is doing like a residence there. Do you feel like the creative and the artists, our emerging creatives, do you think they should follow the pattern of Nyege Nyege? Like, since you said there's so much going on at the same time, there's a lot happening at the same time. I live in Uganda, but half of the things you are talking about, I was not even aware of those events going on or have been happening. You understand? So do you think there is a need for people to have more events like festivals that bring everyone together? People know Nyege Nyege for music. They know music. But I think there are other types of creativity that you were talking about, examples. Or maybe as we're chatting, you can also share with us the projects you were working with in Kampala when it comes to art. I know you were doing something with artists. Yeah, so maybe we should talk more about that and see if an event like Nyege Nyege, if we have more festivals, they can do something, eventually becoming a form of tourism on its own.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Nyege Nyege, it has really a track of success, and it has grown in a way that they, for example, release a poster and there's no artist name yet on the poster, but people still come and they buy tickets because of the name. It's a branding thing, right? So if you, that's marketing, or that's like, if you reach this stage with the brand, it's really good, right? So it's not like there need to be more and more and more Nyeges, but the concept of it really worked out somehow. So of course there could be different examples. Like, I mean, I think when we met, I also talked about the ONOMO Arts Experience that just happened in its 5th edition last weekend at ONOMO Hotel. And I was watching it from far and it looked amazing. It showcased only female artists. And when I started this series together with ONOMO Hotel back then in March 2024 was the first edition. The idea was also to create more impact by having a platform where you have maybe the artists that have not been performing at ONOMO Hotel, right? And you have sponsors like EcoBank, or you have the private sector that is also, it's like having an entrance for these different groups to meet. Because I feel that's usually a challenge. Like, you hear from this festival, like from this kind of event, but you don't really go there. So you always need like a point of entry for these groups to meet and then be like, okay, that's cool. We want more of that. And all the time I worked in Kampala, I mean, you also have it in Germany, like generally, like there's this image of the artist also, right? That artists are like, sometimes, you need to, I don't know, like to run after them in order to get materials, and that they're not serious. Like, there was this stereotype. You have one over the world.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
right?
It's
And
everywhere.
exactly. So it's very important to get away from that in order to enable more, I don't know, like cool activities in the end, right? Because I'm always saying, like, if let's say hotels don't want to cooperate with artists, or like they're missing out because it's like there's so much cool ideas coming from their side, or like trying to explain I don't know, traditional practices in a way that you can't even think of, you know. So it's really adding value to it. And I think that was, to me, kind of a journey to understand this, and not trying to also be in front, like to push such conversations, right? Even when I'm here, trying my best.
Yeah, I think it's very important. You're talking about the ripple effects of, the creative arts to hotels, restaurants, and guides. I think it's something where people have to work together. And you had the opportunity to work with ONOMO Hotel, but I don't know if many hotels know that they're aware they can create this sort of partnership. So if you were to advise a hotel, which practical way could they, embrace local creative, knowing that they're also benefiting? Yeah.
I think it goes back to being open for new concepts, and to sometimes also take the risk. Because when I approached Normal Hotel back then, they were also like, okay, let's try it out and see. Because no one knew if this is going to work out, right? Like, you can always come with a nice proposal, and you can say, let's do this and this and this. But in the end, sometimes you don't know. So I think it's also like being open towards new ideas. And again, like, there are a lot of collectives or organizations who work with artists, right? Like, who organize events and concerts, like my friends from CMH Live. They do an amazing job with an academy they have built, right, to professionalize young artists in the way how they brand themselves, how they do music. So if like they have a pool of people, if a hotel would be like, okay, we are thinking of an event, I don't know, like something around Christmas, and we want like a Christmas market, or we want like, we have an idea, and then they could talk to them and create a concept, and they know exactly which artist they need to talk to, right? So yeah, I always feel like there's so much there already. It's just like about finding the right connection points, the entrance, for this, I don't know, fusion to happen. And maybe for management, like for the hotel management, to also visit such places, right? To go to ONOMO Arts Experience, to this event, for example, or like to visit a concert at Allianz, or to go to 32 East, which is also a community platform for contemporary artists in Kampala, that also has gained a lot of visibility, and is a very strong platform. So if you're looking for it, you actually find it, and then making the move, I guess, and trying to look for these spaces.
Yeah. And I think it's also important for artists to learn how to come together. I think it's easier to negotiate with these hotels and spaces as a group, as opposed to as an individual. Like you said, most of our creatives tend to be very temperamental. Now that we've agreed it's a global thing when it comes to creatives, they tend to be temperamental.
No, I didn't say that. I said that it's a stereotype also. I actually meant it more in a way that that's what people think, That's
yeah, and I was actually agreeing with you. Agreeing with you.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, there needs to be that, and I remember we had a lot of conversations about that on ground, like the management part, right? How to mediate between the artists and the hotels, for example. But yeah, I feel like things have changed. There are such people who do this type of management, and there are also many artists who almost like manage themselves, and they know what they want. It's more like to create this interconnections, I guess.
So if someone is watching this and maybe they're in a different country, maybe in Europe or the USA, and they feel they want to come and they want to also come and navigate Uganda's cultural space. From your experience, what would you share with them about entering unfamiliar spaces? Like, what should they be on the lookout for? Like, okay, I've listened. I think there's something in Uganda I can work with. Yeah. So what would you advise them from your experience?
Yeah, I think I always ask people usually like, okay, how long are you there for? Because I'm always a fan of like taking time to explore spaces. And because Kampala it's a very busy place. Like when you go there for the first time, you might be a bit overwhelmed by the noise, the smell, like the rush, the colors. There's so much going on at the same time. I had this feeling when I had family or friends come and visit me that my program was too big and they always got exhausted from the first day and okay, you need to chill a bit. I'm like, okay, let's do less. That's fine because everything is new to them, right? So just also a Buddha, right?
Yeah.
Going to Shaka Zulu, like having some nice local food. It's enough for the first day and then maybe going to Victoria Lake. So I think it's always like trying to keep it easy, but yeah, also like go to Kabalagala, try the street food, go to local food places. And I mean, I don't know, you need to also look out for the local people because they will tell you where the best places, right, to have food or like where can you get a nice view over the city for sunset. Yeah, and I mean, I'm quite a city girl, I'd say. I love being in urban spaces, but I also love being in the nature. I mean, the trips I've done in the country, it's crazy how diverse this country is in terms of landscapes. I mean, when
it is very diverse.
It's so beautiful. It's so and mostly the roads are also better when you leave Kampala. I feel like somehow you and me, I love road trips. Own car or you rent a car, you can easily drive through the country, right? And you watch the scenery, you make stops somewhere, you talk to the people. It's very beautiful. And yeah, I went to Mount Rwenzori last year. I didn't went to the top. That was a bit too much for me, but at least I made it to 4,000.
I know.
You were?
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay. Yeah. It was just like fairy tale or like some kind of science fiction movie because the different climate zones you are going through when you climb up, and you feel like there are not many other people besides you and you just immerse in nature. It's really, really, really nice. So I mean, back to your question. Uganda is a place I think it's always good to go like more than one time because there's so much to explore, right? And look out for definitely the Ndera Cultural Center. I think they do an amazing job by the performances they offer, where you see also the different all the different ethnicities that come together. I mean, Uganda is a country with more than 40 languages and traditional practices. So like it's very diverse, and to get an idea of that, it makes sense to dive a bit deeper.
Yeah, I'm so glad you've talked about your different experiences, the places you traveled to, because that's what this episode about. It's about, we're talking about people remember when people come for different experiences, but they always remember how they felt about places, the people, and everything. And so we are going to go into the round where I want to ask you if you picked any local language.
Oh God, I hate this question.
Do you pick any?
No, I know a few words of Luganda, but unfortunately that's it.
Tell me.
Yeah, but again, my other friends who also been there for some time, like there's something at some point we missed learning more words, but well, I'm not proud of that. So when I go back, I can learn more words. Yeah, so much about that.
Yeah. So that means you have to come back. You have to visit again so that you learn something. You have to
Yeah,
become more fluent.
sure, that's true. Yeah.
Among the places you visited in Uganda, which one will always be special to you? Which one do you always feel like that's my sport? You love it. You'd keep going back over and over.
Mm, I don't want to say ginger because everyone knows ginger, though it's really a place I've been there so many times, and it's just, I mean, yeah, best sunsets, the best, like watching the Nile flow, and you wonder for how many millions of years have people come here, and like this river is so old, right? There's so much history to it, so it's a very almost like a holy or like very ancient place to me, I feel.
I
Uh,
know something special about it.
yeah, so much. And yeah, I also feel like Karamoto was very, how can I say, it was different from the rest of the country. It was a bit rougher and like rougher in terms of like the nature, the landscapes, and but also like meeting some communities there, like yeah, I really, I don't know, it had like a character that was very strong and I really enjoyed it. And for sure the like, Lake Bunyoni is also a must,
Yeah.
right? And there's
Yeah. Lake
this
Bunyonyi.
of water and mountainous landscape, yeah, and a lot of green and like going, and yeah, it's really impressive. And again, like the diversity of these places is what makes Uganda so special, I think.
When you talk about Lake Bunyonyi, I wish most people knew. I don't know if many people know that Lake Bunyonyi is one of the places, one of the spaces that featured in Wakanda, that movie. Everyone says it's best the landscape of Wakanda and the beauty. Yeah, it's all best around Lake Bunyonyi. Most people actually theorize that Wakanda is Uganda. Have you heard of that?
No. Okay. Oh,
Okay, so as we wrap up, Sina, I just want one final question. What is the 10 out of 10 food or dish you feel everyone who comes to Uganda should experience at least once? Or if they talk to you and say I was in Uganda and they say they didn't try it or anything, then you tell them, you did not go to Uganda until you've tested it. What would that dish be?
that's true. I mean, that's definitely to me, it's Matoke and Ginat place. But actually, there's one spot where I used to stay in Muyenga. There was a little joint called Mama Brenda. And I love this place because it brought together Buddha drivers, kindergarten teachers, I don't know, people who worked like for KCCA, NGO people. Like it was a mixture of different people, and they all enjoyed food. And I love to have beef with matoke and yam and ugali. Sorry, ugali, oh my God. I mean, posho. Oops. And then some peanut aside. So yeah, I think it's very important to go to such joints and to explore the food and to maybe even sit there for at least like an hour to observe also what's going on around you, right? So yeah, there's also the thing
Okay.
that take time to eat or like to they embrace time in a different way, and that's something
Yeah,
I
we
miss.
actually do.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
has its benefits for real.
If you notice, even the concept of fast food here is not the way it is interpreted in other countries. Fast food here means they have to actually put sitting spaces. People have to sit down because everyone wants to take their time to eat.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's yeah, I liked it. Like it taught me a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so Fina, if someone is listening today and they would like to learn more about your work and what you do, and to continue the conversation with you, what's the best way to connect with you?
Sure. So as I said earlier, yes, I moved back to Germany. I'm now working full-time here in the creative arts, but I am also still with the Roundabout, which is a social enterprise I co-founded or founded together with two partners, Julie from France and Diane from Uganda. And we started it like 4 years ago, roundabout. And because all of us, we have experiences in working in the arts, and we thought, like, what can we do? We would like to come up with a platform that empowers artists and to do some fun activities and to embrace, platforms, right? So that's what we did. And we had different community activities in the fields of legal advice, how to deal with contracts as an artist, but also in the fields of mental health. So we have a very strong collaboration with the Alliance, where we host regular mental health sessions together with also deal with mental health. So the Roundabout is more like a mediation platform where we also engage artists with other partners, right? Something I also shared earlier, where I feel that's the key to create like some answers in this area, right? So even the ONOMO Arts Experience, I started it under the Roundabout because besides the legal framework and the mental health activities we do, it's also about networking and career development. So creating platforms as such will help, I think, artists to grow and to get a bit out of their comfort zone. The Roundabout is on Instagram. You can follow us there. There's also an email address where you can reach out. And hopefully next year when I come back to Kampala, I'm looking also into organizing a project or something back under the Roundabout. Yes, but here I'm happy if people want to reach out. And I also want to continue my consultancy because even when I'm here, there's a way to also bring artists to Germany, right? To the region where I work, like to create some exchange and to create like some workshops or concerts. I think it's good that we stay globally connected.
We're going to have an episode just dedicated to that because, it's very important for the artists who are listening to this and for them to have those opportunities to see how to, move from just being one artist in, to how they can come together and grow their brand and be okay. Yeah, sorry to our audience. We had a power outage, heavy rains right now, so everything is off. But still, we had a lot of fun with Sina. And Sina, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much for sharing your experiences and reminding us that hospitality isn't only about places. It's about the people, creativity, and the stories that connect us across cultures. I hope today's conversation encourages our listeners to look beyond the itinerary and discover the artists, musicians, makers, and cultural entrepreneurs who help to shape Uganda's identity every single day. So thank you to our listeners and thank you to Think Tank Media for making this conversation possible. Until next time, stay curious, travel deeper, and as we say in Uganda, wherever.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending time with us on Beyond Safari. This podcast is part of Think Tank Media and Hospitality Nexus, a global human-first platform bringing the hospitality ecosystem together in one place. Inside the Nexus, it's a career fair that never closes, connecting industry leaders, educators, students, employers, and partners through real presence. You can watch every episode of Beyond Safari inside Hospitality Nexus at hospitalitynexus.org. Stay curious, travel deeper, and keep discovering what others miss.